My name is Damodaran and I am the Chairperson of Excellence Enablers. This series of conversations to which we have invited you is a new initiative of Excellence Enablers to bring to you persons who have achieved a lot and done so without being on the front pages of newspapers, without talking about the work, allowing the work to talk for them, making a significant impact on society in more ways than one, and adding to the health, wealth, and happiness of persons around. So it is to get a better idea of what goes into the making of these persons, what informs and influences the thought processes in what they do, that we have devised this series of conversations. My guest today is a person who, after working for a short while in a multinational company, set up his own company. I'll get into the details a little later as we get into the conversation. And then, in pursuit of his aim of strengthening the higher education movement in the country, supported that in more ways than one, both by being a part of the leadership team of premier institutes, as well as by setting up an institute within a premier management institute, setting up an institute to promote entrepreneurship, which is something that needs promotion in this day and age, by persons who've been there, done that. Several other aspects which we will discover as we go along. In some ways, he is a person ahead of his time. Some of the things that he did was long before the rest of India started thinking about it, talking about it, forget to it. So it's my privilege to welcome to this conversation a person that I have admired for quite some time. Mr. Ashank Desai, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It is so nice to be here with you. You are a doyen of course, bureaucracy is fine, but more beyond that, a doyen of corporate governance now in the country. And the impact that you have on the corporate circles, having attended your events and read your papers, is tremendous. You may not have even realized the impact that you have in terms of the actions that follow after people listen to you and read what you say. And of course, you say it in such a way that it is very interesting. That's your side aspect of your saying. So it goes in the brain very easily without any problem. So it is not intellectualized, if I may say. So it is very nice to be here with you, and I really consider it my privilege to interact with you today.
Thank you for those very kind words. I'm going to jump straight away into something that has fascinated me. You were one of the first in corporate India to move away from the position of chairmanship board of your company and to bring in an independent director as non-executive chairman. Interestingly, a person who had been on your board only for a few months, not that you'd seen him on your board for very long. Today, regulators are talking about separating the position of chair and managing director, having a non-executive chairperson. It hasn't happened. The last date has been pushed forward to 2022. But you did this before the Companies Act came into being. You did one other thing, and I want to get your thoughts on both of these. Everybody talks about consolidation these days. You did consolidation of accounts 20 years ago. Tell me, what was the thought process that got you to do these, very far-reaching things that much of India is yet to catch up?
Thanks for those recognition, and from you and coming from you, they are really honestly valuable to me, because you have seen India and Indian corporate circle like nobody else. So the foundation of that really is, to be honest, at one level, not corporate governance, but values. I think that's where this whole thing comes from. And the values are about respecting all your stakeholders, being transparent to your stakeholders, being aware that your relationship is impacting your stakeholders, and you are part of a larger ecosystem of your stakeholders. So I have a responsibility to carry this company, if you are a public company, along with those shareholders outside promoter group. And whatever we did was out of that passion about the values. Of course, practice was a manifestation of it. What we should do to make this happen. And these two things that you talked about came out of that. Because it was very clear to us that just doing non-consolidated was not giving any idea about what this company was. And if we have to be really transparent and give a full information, we need to consolidate. So it came out of the transparency value, if I may call it. As regards this other one, is coming out from a fact that one should realize that one can be too close to your company when you are a founder and forget that there is again a stakeholder outside you. So you need a reminder to you all the time. And that reminder cannot be from your peers, but somebody who is at one level above you in a way. And that reminder comes, that balance comes from having a non-exec chairman. So there is third thing that we did actually, if I may add, and that is about directors' evaluation.
I was coming to that. That you in some sense read the next question in my mind. And my next question was, long before evaluation became prescribed, and we know that even after it is prescribed, people are going through it with a tick box exercise. But you had a system which was robust, which was a value-adding exercise, not something that you were going through the motions of, where you got people to introspect, see how good they were, what they needed to do, and then compare notes, and then get an external expert to come, take a look at all of this, and then present it to the board and to individuals. So you did mention values. You did mention the part of the larger ecosystem, and the boards must add value to the larger ecosystem. Why did you think of it at that point of time when you did? Secondly, in some sense, can you tell us what it is that has improved as a result of this exercise? Because there might be a message there for persons outside who are still not persuaded that evaluation, feedback, these are good things.
Yeah. So this evaluation exercise also came out of that feeling that we need to be transparent, there should be a candor in the boardroom, and everyone should know where is one placed and what one is contributing or not contributing. And I was very lucky to have a board members that I have, including, of course, our non-executive chairman, Sandilya. Because you see, it's extremely difficult for directors after 30, 40 years of experience to accept that they need to be evaluated. So the first hurdle that you have is to convince the board members that we need to have it. I have heard many, and I'm sure you have heard hundreds of them, that will say, why should I be evaluated? I have run a company. I know how to do all this. What is this evaluation going on? And so on. So it stops there, unfortunately, even for those who want to do it. I was lucky. So that's important point. So when I put this on the board, all of them said, yes, I think we need to do it. So that's point one. Point two was, I think there was another foundation which was there before we did it. And if we don't have it, it might become difficult. There was a sense of camaraderie and a trust in the board. So we respected each other, we trusted each other. So there was a feeling that any of this will not be, within quotes, misused, if I may call it, or you know, used or unused also at one level. That feeling was there. And that requires, of course, a different piece of process, which you know very well, but I'm saying, so those two things were with us, good board members, enlightened one, and the environment. So then making this happen was easy. Now we did important thing there. We said we will not evaluate each other. We will not give feedback to each other directly, but we will have an outsider who will collate all our things, because you know how it happens. It's very difficult to give sometimes direct evaluation in spite of all the good intentions. So it is better we have, so I designed a questionnaire. It's quite long questionnaire. So people would say, Ashank, why do you want all this to be filled up here? Because every person has to fill for all other board members. So, you know, I have to fill for all others and others fill for and all that. Anyway. But I think my board was very cooperative, and what has happened because of it is, I think we know what we expect from each other, and I have seen a change in board behavior after those feedbacks. And so board has become more effective, simple and straight. And of course, one is director evaluation, one is board evaluation we also do. That we do inside. That means we all evaluate board as an institution. There is a set of some 100 questions, if I may, something close to that, where we ask on various aspects. And we get feedback from management also on how good a board we are. Part of that board evaluation, CEO gives us a feedback saying that, you know, CEO and board relationship, there are 25 questions or 10 questions, and he or she gives us a feedback. So it is all kind of done in such a way that it's a 360 degrees, as they call it right now. So peer to peer, subordinate to peer, a subordinate to the boss, like board is a boss in that sense, and so on. So I feel very good at the end of it, that we have thrown so many not intended issues that would have left unresolved if we had not done it.
You mentioned at the beginning of this response, you were lucky to have good members of the board. My experience looking at boards across the country is that nobody is lucky to get good board members. They go and get good board members. They write their own luck checks, if one might call it that. Because many people want persons in their comfort zone. And persons in the comfort zone means everybody ensuring that everybody else survives, but nobody prospers in the process. The company certainly doesn't prosper. But one other thing, and this fascinating, that you actually went as far as to get analysts and investors to come and interact with your board, because you wanted to hear firsthand from them, not through printed reports, on what was going right and what was going wrong, so that maybe you thought you could correct them, so that they don't go away with the wrong impression. But it must have required a lot of courage to get these people into the boardroom. I'm not aware of too many people who do that.
Yes. Thank you. You know, when I started that practice, some people told me, Ashank, you have gone mad or what? Why do you want to do that? All the shareholders will come and start nursing management or whatever. So I said, okay, it doesn't matter. So long as we are professionals, so long as we respect them, then their word is important. So we will select those, and we'll select those who are also having a voice against us. We will not select those who are necessarily saying we are good guys. So we have presented to the board, analysts and investors also, who have come and criticized us and said that this is not right. You guys are doing ABC, we need to move faster, X, Y, Z, whatever. And we had that courage. I would say, I'm not doing self-praise, but I think we, in a founder group, we have 4 of us, had that courage to be criticized and be at the other end of the fire, if I may call it, and take that criticism in a very positive way. So I think, again, it boils down to probably your basic values that helps you to sometimes do all of these things, if I may ask, if I may talk about ourselves. But I think more importantly, what happens is the board takes decisions which are based on data, as you know. We sit in our comfort zone and then decide, no, this should be dividend. No, this should be our policy. So that gets much easier than I explaining that. Because the management is very close sometimes to shareholders than board, as you know. Because we interact with investors, we move around, and board comes not that frequently to interact or doesn't interact with them. So they are sitting in a closed circuit. So we open that circuit so they and their decisions and our movement, our decisions get much easier that way. Actually, it's good for us by doing that because speed of decision making and objectiveness increases, if I may. So I found that practice very good again. So what we do is we do all stakeholder surveys, investors, customers and employees, and they are presented to the board. My view is very strong view. Any board that I have, I first initiate these 3 things. Shareholder survey. If it is, of course, non-profit, then no shareholders are there. It can be donor survey. If it is a business school, it is the guys who hire people from you. They are in a way your shareholder. They are customers, not shareholders. And I have been instrumental to do this in many places that I have been, without mentioning names. But I very strongly feel about it.
So you have been on the board of IIM Ahmedabad for many years with a 2-year break. And I'm not aware of too many people who serve for too long on the boards of academic institutions, because while they're very good in imparting knowledge, at least in India, there are question marks on governance standards in institutes of higher learning. So your presence there must have, in some sense, influenced some of the value systems on the basis of which they operate. That is one question, and I want to link this to something else, which is that your emphasis on values and whatever helps to reinforce values like transparency, like trust, like disclosures, how much of that is derived from your being a student of Vedanta philosophy and your being a very spiritual kind of a person?
Oh, that's a difficult question. In the sense, I think, to be honest, it probably is other way, that one gets attracted to these things because, you kind of value them. Yeah, in turn they influence you, but my interest in spirituality, of course, started at the young age of 23 with a reading of, I don't know whether you have heard Mr. J. Krishnamurti, very well-known philosopher. He didn't like to be called philosopher, but and that did have an impact at one level. And some of these things also come from your middle class background, the way your parents raised you, the way, you know, I was brought up in a very challenging conditions. My father passed away at the young age of 2. My mother had to work hard in a government service, which was paying some small salary. And one day she came and she was crying kind of alone. So I said, I was very young, 12, 13 years. So she said, why are you crying? She said, no, somebody came and offered me money to do some work, she said, in the government. What is this happening? And, you know, so those are the instances which kind of influence you, you know, in a life. So some of these values come probably from your parents, and, you know, so all that part happens. Sorry to sidetrack this.
I think it's very, very valid to know where these come from. You contributed to higher education by setting up 2 institutes in both your alma maters. IIM Ahmedabad as well as IIT Bombay, where you did your
IIT Bombay.
IIT Bombay, where you did your postgraduate training.
Yeah.
So there are some very illustrious alumni who write out checks because they can afford to write out. But in your case, it's not about writing out checks. It's about seeing that that money is spent in delivering the outcomes for which you wrote out those things. Entrepreneurship in IIT Bombay, the focus that you have in IIM Ahmedabad on what you set out to do in your center. So is this in some sense your feeling that those who are placed as you are in a position of, let's say, comparative prosperity have to do something so that more and more Ashank Desais come up from within the system and create wealth?
Sure, thanks for your kind words. Coming from you, I value them. So my view is as follows, that, you know, our life moves in the debts that we create. Debt to your parents, debt to your family, debt to your educational institute. We need to repay all these debts and feel good about at least you have given back. Given back not because it is one way, because they did something to you some time back. And IIM and IITs made that difference to me. I am here because of that, honestly. I am talking to you today because of that background of IIM, IIT and other things. So to me, it was kind of paying back that debt in a small way. I don't think I can change my institute, but whatever little I can do was one thought for doing this, honestly. And I'm very sincere about it, that I feel it is repaying our debt. Yes, if it helps and creates a good example, that anyway is a great thing, because then more donations would happen. So setting as an example is, of course, good, and that helps. And that was also, in a way, purpose. But the larger purpose was repaying a debt, as I said.
I think that far from settling debts, you have created huge credit balances in terms of all the goodwill and the emotions that you have managed to generate. I want to move to another area, maybe seemingly disconnected. I know you're fond of music.
Sorry?
I know you're fond of music. I know that you love singing, you love hearing songs. Where did that come from?
Okay. See, that came from, I don't know how tuned in you are to the 50s and 60s Indian Bollywood Binaka Geet Mala, if you have heard this word.
Oh, yes. We all grew up on that, yes.
So there used to be a program on Radio Ceylon at that time we used to call it.
That's right.
There's
Yes.
a person called Amin Sayani. He's still living by 90 years old. And the best sing songs of those week were played throughout the year, once a week. And some of these things was kind of influenced one. And incidentally, we didn't have any radio in our house. So I remember once in a while listening it from neighbor's radio, listening to the, putting my ear to the wall. So we were not in the best situation to buy one radio at those days. Anyway, that's a separate story. But those kind of created some impact on the liking on those music. If you have heard of Mukesh, Muhammad Rafi,
Oh, yeah.
of course, I'm sure you have heard. So those songs created some impact on me, and beyond anything else, Mr. Damodaran, personally, it is the greatest meditation you can have. People talk of doing meditation, but if you sing yourself, so one sings not for others to listen. Yeah, they may or may not listen depending on how good or bad you are. But the singing brings that peace of mind. Singing creates a sense of harmony in you to feel good about it. And I really enjoy those moments of singing. Of course, going to enjoying those music directors and lyrics, and of course, there is what is called as golden era of Bollywood music. That is said from 1950 to 70, those 20 years.
That's true.
So thanks for pointing that out, but that's really my passion.
It must be one of your major stress busters even now, because this is at one level a stressful world for everyone.
Yeah.
You mentioned the golden age of music. I remember thinking about this, that what my father thought was good music, I didn't think was good music. What I thought was good music, my children didn't think. And what my children think is good music, I think is noise. I am not able to relate to that. In some sense, I think values remain eternal, but tastes change, I suppose. That I think is what happens. Any message that you have for young people who want to set up their own businesses, carve out their own identities, create value for themselves and for society? Any advice for them other than hard work? Of course, they need to work hard.
Of course. So I have a very quick one to summarize it. I call it a 3V message. V's. If you have to be victorious, you need 3 other V's. And these 3 V's are simple. I call it like a building. You need a foundation, V, that is values. Without values, you will not succeed in long run. You, of course, are not running a non-profit to just run on values. You need a vision. That is a top floor. Vision is about where you want to be, what difference you want to make to your customers and all that. And then obviously top floor and foundation are not enough. You need enough space to live. And that is about vitality, I call it. You have to have vitality to make things happen, energy, we know all that. So running an organization, setting goals, setting KRAs, all that. So 3 V's, so simple. Have all of those, then only you will be successful. I have seen enough people who have only one of these. You need at least 2, if not 3. If you are 3, you are very lucky or very, very well placed. But at least 2 of them you need to take you through success, if not all 3.
That's phenomenal.
Small message, without giving big lecture.
No, that is phenomenal. I think that last V certainly increases my vitality at the end of this conversation.
And, I have enough of it in any case.
And let me say this, that You know, when one interacts with a lot of people in different spheres, you get to hear a lot of talk. I want to do this, I did this, I didn't do this, whatever. There's a lot of talk. And you wish often that they walked that talk and didn't just talk about it. An absolute delight having a conversation with somebody who we have got
Thank you.
to talk the walk. Because in your case, the walk has long preceded the talk, and it's good people hear what you have done and why you have done. That's most important. Delighted to have you, Ashank, on our program.